Hey, greetings everyone. As promised, I promised that this week's video is going to be a Q&A kind of video. I'm going to have a lot more investing and tax related videos coming, but this week I really wanted to get into your comments, your questions. A lot of times if you have a question, there's a lot of other people out there with that exact same question, so never be afraid to leave a comment or ask anything you would like. I do try my best to respond to everybody. I really do appreciate you guys, and I hope you know that, so let's have some fun and see what questions you have today. First question is from Moving Out Productions. Moving Out Productions, how's it going, brother? He says, hey man, I'm working on expanding my music projects. Any entertainment accounting advice? Should I start an LLC for the YouTube channel, another LLC for collecting music royalties, or keep it all as a sole proprietor? Any advice would help. Now, I do get the question quite often on this channel of, should I start a business? Should I form a legal business entity like an LLC, a corporation, an S corporation? Should I, jump right into that? And my answer is it really depends. So I would say this, is if you're just getting started, if you're just starting to think about doing this, I don't think you're at the point or the level at which you need to incorporate just yet. For example, like let's say you owned a rental business and you had rental properties. Well, if you have rental properties in play, those properties are probably worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. At that point, yeah, I'm definitely would recommend you put those properties or form an LLC is probably what I would recommend. But for something like YouTube or something like, music royalties, depending upon how involved you are with that, you might be able to get by at the moment with just a sole proprietorship. You can buy some liability insurance, contact your insurance provider. It's a lot cheaper. It's really not, liability coverage is not that expensive. A lot of times what we hear or see on the internet, it kind of pushes us towards forming a legal business entity. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's a lot of additional fees, annual fees, that you have to think of once you form a business entity. Like for example, you're gonna have to pay your attorney to form an LLC. With a sole proprietorship, you don't. If you form an LLC or a business entity, your taxes are going to become way more complex than they were before. So now you're dishing out maybe thousands of dollars extra per year just to file that tax return. And maybe you're at the point where you're not making money yet. So I would say as you grow your business, then at that point consider incorporating. Especially if you're going to buy some really large asset purchases like a building, or you start making $50,000, $100,000 a year or more. Well, that case, or if you start bringing on employees and things like that, well, once you start bringing on employees, I would definitely recommend you form a legal business entity or have good liability insurance to protect yourself. My YouTube channel here, for example, because I have a normal day job as a CPA, and then I do this YouTube channel on the side, I just do it as a sole proprietorship. It's not to the point yet where I feel like I need to form an LLC. It's not that big. I don't have any employees. I do this kind of as a somewhat of a business, but somewhat of a hobby too, because I really do enjoy doing this. But I'm not gonna complicate my tax situation if I don't have to. So think about those things, look a little bit further into that, and best of luck, brother. Actually, following up on that last comment or question, so this one comes from Roy Hoy. He says, by the way, Roy Hoy, that's a very cheerful name. I like that. If I ever become a YouTuber, I will go back to this video. He says, question, if someone has a regular job and they also are a YouTuber, do they need to file Schedule C in a regular 1040? And so in this video, you can see on the thumbnail, I produced this video of how I file my taxes for YouTube using a Schedule C. So the Schedule C is a form used for a sole proprietorship kind of business, and you file it along with your 1040. It's all included in the same filing package, but it's really easy to fill out. It's just basically your income and expenses. But yes, if you're a sole proprietor, all you need is a Schedule C, and that is filed just with your 1040, and you're not filing a separate business return. This next comment, I just want to really say thank you to Candace Tipton. So Candace, I really appreciate your feedback, and it's feedback like yours here that keeps me inspired to keep creating these crazy tax and investing videos. I remember when I first started out as an accountant, there is really no formal education to learn your job. I mean, I know there's school, there's an accounting degree, but it's really insufficient to actually teach you what you really need to be know to be effective at your job and to learn not only the accounting concepts, but then how they relate to a tax return, how you communicate in an office environment, all of that. So when I trust me when I tell you, like, I started from ground zero knowing nothing, and all of my experience today comes from real life work experience. And without that, I wouldn't be able to even produce these videos. And I just remember how important it was for me trying to learn my job, of how those details really helped me. So I do try to incorporate as many details into my tax lessons as I possibly can. All right, this next comment's from Kevin. He says, and he's referring to the tax deadline here, and he says, no, it's not. I just Googled it. The deadline is April 15th, not October 15th. And so when you see somebody say the deadline is October 15th, what they mean is that the tax returns that would normally be filed on April 15th, those 1040 forms, personal income taxes, well, when they extend them, when somebody can't file timely and they need to extend their return, the deadline for those returns, the drop dead deadline, is 6 months later, which is, in this case, October 15th. Next question is from Vanessa. Vanessa, how's it going? She says, hi Mike, if I contribute the $6,000 a year to my Roth, would I potentially lose money that I've contributed if the markets are moving up or down without selling anything on my Roth account? Question mark. I know my account will grow, but I just wouldn't want to lose any of my money that I've put into my Roth. Vanessa, the feeling is mutual. I certainly don't want you to lose any money. Hopefully not, right? Hopefully not. So with your question, it's a very good question, one that I get quite often, especially when people are trying to learn how to invest or thinking of investing, and maybe they have not done it before. They're always afraid of losing money. And I get this question a lot with friends and family all the time. So with investments, let's just say you buy a share of stock within your Roth. So you deposit cash into your Roth, you buy one share of stock, whatever stock it is, doesn't matter. So right now you've paid $100 for it and it's worth $100, right? So you have zero gain, zero loss. But the next day the market opens, the value of your investment goes up. Now you have now you have an unrealized gain, okay? The next day, the value of your investment goes down. Now you might have an unrealized loss. The key term I'm using here is unrealized, and that's the language. So if you're not selling your investment, yes, the value of your investment is going to fluctuate every single day the market's open. You're either going to have an unrealized gain or an unrealized loss on that position, but you don't actually lose money until you sell the investment at a loss. So once you sell an investment, let's say right now, let's say you have an unrealized loss on that investment. Well, if you sell it, you've recognized that loss, okay? So it went from unrealized to recognized. So now you've recognized the real loss and you have lost money. The only other time I can think of off the top of my head where you might actually just lose money is if you owned a stock and it went to zero, which is very rare, but of course, it can happen, but it's rare, right? Especially if you're investing in blue chip companies that operate within the S&P 500 or the Dow Jones. It's unlikely or less likely that you're going to incur a major loss. Is it possible? Sure. But just know most of the time, as long as your investments are sitting there, then you're good. Now, my investment account right now, between my brokerage account, and my two Roths, we have a couple $100,000 in there. And every day it's going up, it's going down. Some days it goes up $5,000, other days it goes down $1,000 or $2,000. But every day it's just moving up and down. And I've learned, at first I would really get stressed out when I saw those balances move. But now I'm just used to it going up and down, and I don't really think about it much. I just keep putting more money in and making sure I'm watching what I'm investing in to make sure I'm minimizing my losses and maximizing my gains as much as possible. So hope that helps. Okay, Rubitaro10, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. If I didn't, I apologize, has a question for us. They say, hello, what are your thoughts on exempting federal tax on employees' paycheck, then at the end of the year using money generated from assets to pay taxes? I mean, it's a good question. It's a cool idea. Now, what would happen though in that instance? You should know that the IRS and also your state's tax agency in California, the state tax agency is the franchise tax board. Well, how they like to collect their tax is they like to collect their tax on a monthly and quarterly basis, and so And the idea of not paying any tax until the very end of the year or when you go to file your taxes would backfire on you, because not only would you have to pay the amount of tax you would have owed, but on top of it, because they did not get their money timely as soon as they would like to, well, then you're also going to be hit with steep penalties and interest on top of it. So they don't really allow you to do that without punishing you from a tax perspective. So often it's usually not economically viable or worth it to take that approach, in my opinion, and from what I've seen. So that's my thoughts on that. Next up is John, who has a question about HSA reimbursement. So John is asking, hey, is there a time limit that I can pull money out of my HSA to reimburse myself for medical expenses? And as far as I know of, the answer is no. So anytime you feel like it, once you've incurred that medical expense, you can take money out of your account, even if it's a couple years later. I don't know of any rules. You can check the publication to be sure, publication 969, but there's nothing I know of that prevents you from taking that money out and reimbursing yourself at a later date. I mean, I've done it before. I've done it multiple times, never had any issues with it. My only advice for you would be to make sure you've kept those medical receipts for that would total up to the amount you're reimbursing yourself for. So if you were ever audited, you could just prove, hey, I've never reimbursed myself for this. Here's proof. Here's what my expenses were, and you should be good to go. Metal Freak, what's up? So Metal Freak asks, is it 90% in stocks too aggressive? So this is based from a 401k video I did several years ago. And I think the answer is it just depends. I don't think 90% in stocks is too aggressive at all. If you're young, if you're trying to really grow your account. Now, if you're probably in your 40s or 50s or 60s, then yeah, I think 90% in stocks might be a little too aggressive. Most financial advisors I see, as their clients age or get closer to retirement, they were probably like 70, 80, or 90% in stocks. Well, then they start moving that number down to around 60%, 70%, or even like 50% in stocks. So as you get older, the idea is you would take less and less risk so that you secure what asset base you've established. But it comes down though to not just age though, it really comes down to a person's risk tolerance. Because I often look at investing as from the side of inflation too, because inflation, as you guys can see, is definitely a real thing. And I want to make sure my money's growing. And so I'm not afraid to take a little bit more risk, because my other risk is losing the value of my money just from inflation, and that's not a risk I want to take. So it's just balancing what you're comfortable with and securing your overall asset base and having hedges in place if things don't go the way you want them to. I think if you take that approach, you'll be okay, even if you're a little bit more aggressive in stocks or ETFs or whatever it is. Ketchy Chaz asks, would you move to another state just to save up on taxes? Actually, I had to think about this a little bit, because I often think about leaving California, to be honest, because the taxes are horrendous here. But I would say the answer will be no. I think I like to consider other aspects of it as well, not just one aspect. When I make a decision, I have to think, okay, where's my family at? How will this impact me economically? Where else would I like to live? And so I think for me to move to another state, it would take more than just high taxes. I mean, obviously that would be up there on the list of things that would really drive me to a move to another state. But the politics of the matter would have to be insane as well. Where, like, if my family is no longer safe living within the state because of the politics of the state, well then, yeah, I gotta move. And taxes are no taxes. So the thing is, like, no matter where you move, you're gonna pay taxes. And every state has different tax laws. Some states have higher property taxes. Some states have income taxes. Some states have sales taxes. So all in all, you're paying taxes no matter where you live. It's just different amounts, different rules, different structures. Now, but taxes alone, I don't think would push me out of the state. If taxes alone would have done that, I think I would have already left California. But every day that goes by, I think more and more about leaving this state. The last question I have for today is also from Vanessa. Vanessa, you're killing it with the good questions. And she's basically asking, like, how do I analyze an index fund? And, like, what do these different investing terms mean, like beta, net assets, turnover rate. What the heck does it all mean? So the resources I recommend if you want to learn these terms, and it's pretty easy to learn these terms. It doesn't take much, but I would recommend going to investopedia.com, seekingalpha.com as well. Those are two great websites to learn investing. Investopedia is probably my favorite place to learn investing terms and what they mean. I think you're going to be able to extract a lot of good information from there. There are books you can buy to teach you investment terms, but I don't think they're necessary. I think those websites will do the trick. So check them out. And let me know, guys, would you like me to do a video on how I would analyze an index fund? Let me know in the comments, and if that's something you would like to see, then I will consider producing a video around that. Funnel Sites request, please make a video on tax advantages for real estate. Funnel Sites, you got it, brother. So I will plan to do that. I've been meaning to do that, but have not gotten around to it. So thank you for the reminder. Reborn Ducky says, debating whether I should marry a man who is an accountant, CPA, LMAO. Well, I can tell you this: if you do marry if you marry a spouse who is a CPA who works in public practice or private practice, just know that they probably have parts of the year or months of the year where they have to work some really long hours. Like, I know January through April, I'm pretty much gone. I mean, when I am home after like a 10, 11 hour day, I'm pretty tired, but just know they're not going to be around much during certain times of the year, for whether it's in public practice doing taxes or private practice where there's the month end close or the year end close or quarterlies. There's always seems to be some deadline. But beyond that, you can probably expect your taxes will be looking sharp, your financials will look clean, your accounting will be in line, and hopefully all your financial dreams will come true if you marry a CPA. Well, this was certainly a ton of fun. So thank you so much, everybody, for your comments, your questions. I just love reading what you guys have to say, and you made this video possible. If you enjoyed today's video, if you want to see me make more videos like this, then be sure to let me know by smashing the like button. Engage in the comments below, and hey, I would love to have you be part of our community for our weekly videos. You can do so simply by hitting that red subscribe button down below, and if you hit that bell notification icon, it will notify you whenever I release new content, which is typically once a week. All right, I love you all. Thank you so much for all of your support. You guys absolutely rock and are amazing. I'll see you down in the comments. Live life uncaged. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.